Live. All right. And fireworks already. Interesting. All right, let me we start this show. Hello, those who are live and those who are tuning in on what is it when you're not live? Pre-recorded, not pre-recorded. I guess uploaded, streaming or streamed. Right, this is your host, Rap Raven. Let me switch to our plan. Voila, show 69. All right, so guys, this show is setting on New Year's Eve. So most people might be actually out celebrating. So this show might be a short show. A lot of fireworks coming on a bit early, but I mean that's what it is. All right. Yeah, this show might end early to allow people to go and do what they're doing. Or it might not. I mean, there's a lot of people at home don't go out looking after kids or the animals or dogs and pets, whatever it might be. So yeah, so we'll see what happens. But generally, we got a theme show, so we'll try to get it going. So I'm your host, Rap Raven. This is the 69th show, Black Betterment Broadcast. All right, so let's go through what we're doing today. Let's see if I can find my fantastic PD. There it is. Let me shut down this as well. I've got a lot of things open and slowing down my machine, so let me shut these just to give more power. Sorry about that, guys. Oh, yeah, all working out good now. Nice, smooth. All right. So, after much research, I've unfortunately concluded that currently Black people are collectively inadequate. That's right. It is a challenge we face, and some of the topics we tackle today, we'll go over this, like some of the the outcomes on that, how we can observe it and all that good stuff. So, we're gonna go through that. We're gonna start a link today. People might, if they are around, if they want to jump on, they can. If not, we'll end the show because it is New Year's Day. I mean, normally I might have put like a pre-recorded show, but I'll just do a quick live. But yeah, we're gonna throw a link out and people are gonna talk. So when they do, please uphold the 4D values, which are discipline, dedication, dignity, and discernment. That's right. All right. Fantastic. Excellent. Yeah. Also try to use definitely today, not use geography of language if possible. Doesn't really help and all that stuff. But yeah. If we can, that'll be fantastic. Black Betterment is black people, black issues for Betterment. That's what Black Betterment is. So if you didn't know, now you know. And that means Black Betterment is a lifestyle. So that means this show is teaching the lifestyle of Black Betterment. Hopefully, we the regular pundits and the regular views on here, we're very humbly trying to build something, but hopefully there'll be someone out there with a bigger platform, a bigger reach, who can be influenced by the concept of black people and black people. And they can then actually go, so we can influence the influencers and all that good stuff. Yes, very nice. All right. So, I have to read this copyright stuff. The copyright disclaimer under Section 07, the Copyright Act 1976, allowances made for fair use purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, research, fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing, non-profit, educational, personal use tips to balance the favor of fair use. Yeah, so we're going to be showing some videos that we did not create. And some of them we've had to actually blackify or Black Bettermentify just to make sure that the algorithm doesn't shut down the show. Technology, that stuff. Let's skip that for now. We'll come to that. Error prone high principle, very important. Let's go past that. All right, cool. So, does close non-black connections hinder Black Betterment? And let's break that down. Do black people find it harder to focus on fixing black challenges the more they are connected to non-black people? And also, we continue our live discussion between both sexes and communication challenges, which we're ongoing. We're trying to sort out the communication challenges. Big up Empress Christy, very good support of the show. Fantastic. There you go. So what we're going to do today, before we get into the whole, topic today, which is, and we can have a discussion about that. What we're going to do, we're going to just last week we spoke about, it was on the winter solstice and Christmas, and we showed Kwanzaa, which is African American made day, and something that many black people around the world celebrate to show, the Africanity and the unity of black people and all that good stuff. Despite maybe some people have some, disagreements because of some of the issues of how it was started or something like that. But we're going to do now, just keeping the same theme, we're going to go to the brothers and sisters in Ethiopia, because for those who don't know, Ethiopia, today is the New Year's Eve, So that means that, maybe this show might run over to New Year's Day. I don't know. Depends if people don't want to do that. I don't know how to take stuff. But we're going to show you basically the Ethiopian version, because the Ethiopian, I believe in September is when their one is. They're a few months either behind or something. I can't remember. So I'm just going to just inform it just to keep people, we have to educate when we can. So let's have a sneak peek when you get that. Go! Got it. That is clearly the one. Let's see if I can find. Oh, tell me I downloaded it. Hold on. Oh, yes, I did. Well, there you go. Wrong. This is the thing with you. Download it. Hold on. You've only got. There you go. This is the ones with Simpsons. Rewind. Right. So before I start, that was the guys who made the thing. They're called Info. I think Aftopia. The A looks like it's on fire. I think. So follow them on YouTube. And all that good stuff. Just follow them, and I'll push their stuff in the link.
The kids are acting ethnic.
እንኳን አደረሳችሁ. Happy New Year's to all the Ethiopians in Ethiopia and everyone celebrating around the world. In this video, we'll be looking at why New Year's is celebrated in September and how Ethiopians celebrate it.
Why September? The Ethiopian calendar is currently 7 years and 8 months behind the rest of the world. That is because the country uses an ancient calendar rather than a calendar commonly used worldwide. Ethiopians believe the month of September has different signs that explain why it should be celebrated as the beginning of the new year. Blooming flowers, sunny days, and generally pleasant weather during this month. It is time when people leave the rainy and foggy months in Ethiopia's winter period behind and move on to better days. The number of daylight hours and nighttime hours happen to be exactly equal in every part of the globe once every September, which is another reason Ethiopians celebrate New Year during this month. During this time of the year, the sun and the moon each have 12 hours before setting. The Ethiopian New Year, Nkutatash, means gift of jewels. Legend has it that King Solomon of Jerusalem gave Queen of Sheba jewels during her famous visit to Jerusalem some 3,000 years ago. Her return to Ethiopia after receiving the gifts coincided with the New Year celebration in September. And
Those joining us looking at the Ethiopian New Year that starts in September.
Hence the name.
Hence today is New Year's Eve in England or Europe or the rest of the world, whatever it is, but not in certain parts of Africa.
Nkutatash came to be. Celebrations for the Ethiopian New Year are usually focused on family events and tend to last a few days. As a sign of the New Year, a song called Ababa Yeshoi is performed by a group of Ethiopian girls. You could be at home watching TV or just out for a leisure stroll when the girls approach you with a song and pretty good drumming. They carry bright yellow flowers which grow in Ethiopia only from September to November. As a token of appreciation, people usually respond with money or bread, prepared for the holidays. Expect to receive heartwarming praises from the girls, wishing you more riches and good fortune for the coming year. Young boys have a different role, weaving their creativity into a beautiful painting that herald the coming bright new day. The boys go from one house to another, handing out their works of art on the morning of the holiday to family members, neighbors, and friends. It's all good fun. Hey guys, if you're enjoying this video, please make sure you smash the like button. It will mean a lot.
Go follow them. I'll give the link on their page.
The holiday starts on New Year's Eve when each household comes together to light wooden torches, called Chabo, which symbolizes the coming new season of sunshine after the end of rainy season. They also light bonfire in their backyards, dancing around in circle and simply having a great time. Slaughtering animals is mostly done at people's homes, and men usually assume the traditional role. The national dish, dorowet, chicken stew, which takes at least half a day to prepare, is rarely missed from the holiday menu, and is served along with local alcohol drinks such as tej, honey wine, and talla. The dorowet is served with injera, a flat bread on a large para, so everyone can dine together. And it is common to see people feeding each other as a way of showing affection and love.
There you go. Cool. Very nice. Yeah. So the little history there, little history about Ethiopian New Year. And also, if you've never been to Ethiopian restaurant, I recommend you go. Even if you're a vegan, they specialize in vegan meals, so definitely go. Voila, excellento. Okay, cool. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna talk about. Let me go back to the. Where are we? We're right here. Cool. So let's do a little detour, just to do the whole history stuff. Nice, nice, nice. One thing we're exploring is when Black people come together to try to work on Black issues, having connections to other Black people, does that make it harder? Does that add a challenge? Do some people feel compromised? I feel that they have to like speak for others or bring others in. So there's many ways we can break this down. One thing I can say is some of you guys out there who have your Black Betterment platforms, some of you originally probably would have wanted to start by having a Kumbayarist kind of platform where there are Black issues that needs to be fixed. And what you do is you let everyone in. They come in, they come in and they're welcoming, and everyone's hugging each other and this good stuff. And then the topic starts, and then what happens? You're going to start realizing that actually there's the disagreements because. Well, it's hard to get focused when you have a prime group you're trying to work on, but there's other groups who might slightly change the agenda or maybe the approach of how they want to fix the agenda. And that's why Black Betterment is Black people helping Black people, Black issues. So that's the first one. The first rule is making it just Black people. That makes life easier. Also, then sometimes you have non-Black identified people, Black people who are very, very psychologically connected to non-Black people, and always feel that every step of the way the needs of non-Black people have to be catered for in the process of helping Black people. This happens a lot. And the question is, how do you deal? What is the cause of that? How do you deal with that? Is that true? Maybe it's not. Has it been observed? And then also there's also the kind of there's many different ways it manifests or whatever. You sometimes have a certain situation where Black people will be on public TV or in some public place, and they're talking about issue, and as soon as it connects to non-Black people, then you have a strong disagreement and public argument. We do recommend that Black people don't fight publicly or just in general, especially about issues about non-Black people. That's not really it's not really beneficial. But what we're gonna do is I tried to get some slow examples and maybe make some sense of it. So let me show you. I've got some videos here that came out about 20 years ago. Wow. But this is just basically, there's a gentleman who wanted to reclaim hip hop, I guess, and take it from non-Black artists. I mean, and they invited him on the Fox network, as well as a guy called Coolio, a famous rapper. And what we're observing here is just the way the Coolio is talking to the brother. Let's see. Go.
As some of you might suspect, I'm a nationally recognized expert on hip-hop music, and I know about other music too, and the history of white people moving into
This might not be Fox. I don't know what network this is, by the way.
to the world of Black music and running off with much of the proceeds. This was especially true when playing jazz was the thing and when people started to rock and roll. Now there's an effort to ban.
So yeah, just this recap. In African American musicians have invented many of the popular music genres throughout the years, but unfortunately, very few, if any of them, was owned by Black people from a company standpoint. I think Motown was one of the first, and then I think what was the brother's name who was murdered? Not Al Green, Sam Cooke. I think Sam Cooke had his own label, but unfortunately, when I think he signed Muhammad Ali. But I think when he actually got signed, he was murdered. Conspiracy about how he was murdered and that kind of stuff. But so it's not really something that Black people do in America. That's something that definitely needs to change. But let's see if there's how it conspires.
And whites from hip-hop. Joining me now to discuss that, hip-hop and rap music superstar Coolio. His new album, El Cool Magnifico, will be released in October. And from Raleigh, North Carolina, the Reverend Paul Scott, founder of what he calls the New Righteous Movement, which seeks to keep hip-hop music for Black artists only. Gentlemen, thanks for being with us. Pastor, first question to you. Are you serious?
So what we're observing is very important is we have two Black gentlemen on the TV talking about hip-hop and this kind of stuff. And what we want to learn from this and learn and move forward is how to conduct ourselves when talking about Black issues on public TV and how to stay on code. All that good stuff.
Yes, sir. Explain.
I'm very serious. I'm serious because, as Malcolm X once said, once you have a cup of coffee that's too black, meaning too strong, and you add milk to that coffee, it makes it weak. And what used to wake you up now only puts you to sleep.
Okay, but music in America is a commercial business, and 88% of America is not made up of African Americans. Aren't you cutting off your nose to spite your face by chasing blacks out of that genre, or chasing whites out?
No, I think I am saving the noses, the feet, and the toes of young black children. That's what I think I am doing. It's a shame, and frankly, I think that rapping while white should be a federal offense.
So you're not big on the First Amendment down there in North Carolina, huh?
I am down with, since we're talking hip hop, the First Amendment. But see, the thing about the First Amendment is that the First Amendment only counts if you don't offend white people. If you say something that's offensive to white people, and history has shown us that if you say something that's offensive to white people, that the First Amendment goes out the window.
Coolio, my friend on the West Coast, you've been listening to this. Let me talk about Coolio for a minute. Coolio is a very successful musician, was a fireman, and to my great delight, when I was working on Politically Incorrect.
So we're gonna observe how Coolio communicates to the brother who made a statement that only black people should rap.
Correct, and he was a
Economically, I think.
treasured guest. Found him to be remarkably informed, and was a big fan of all news television.
So already you're saying this man is probably more favorable towards Coolio, I would assume.
From whence he gets a lot of the verse. You heard the pastor in North Carolina. Are you down with him?
Interesting. So that sets up. It probably not goes unchecked, but the way this is now set up, it is set up to really to start a kind of combat disagreement. But maybe I'm wrong. But it just seems to be that way.
I have to say this, man. First of all, we need some new quotes. You need to stop quoting Malcolm, man, because you're not even on his level. If you know anything about Malcolm, you know that in the end, he really found out what the real truth of being a man of God was all about. And I'm appalled to see you sit there and call yourself a man of God and try to segregate somebody from something that you have no right to say that. Do you rap? Have you ever rapped? Have you ever danced hip hop? Have you ever been a real part of the hip hop struggle? I mean, I can't. You're not valid to me, and I don't think you're valid to the rest of hip hop America, man. You actually making a fool of yourself, and you sound stupid. Because let me tell you one thing: if white people stop buying rap music and white people stop being involved in rap music, there won't be any rap music. There won't be any hip hop to make money off of anymore. It'll be a movement and a way of life like it was in the beginning when nobody was making money off of it.
Pastor Scott, jump in there.
Let me ask you this, brother. First of all, I'm not your enemy.
Very good point there, and that's something, that technique you have to remember when you're talking to unsynchronized black folk. You want to let them know that there isn't a competition. You're trying to find solutions to potential problems, and you might disagree with what a person pushed forward, but that doesn't mean you have to go and really start championing the non-black issue topic.
I'm not your enemy either.
Are being oppressed all over.
Now he says he's not your enemy, but the way he conducted himself, we might have to review. It's not really the best way to start a conversation.
This world, and if you're too blind to see that, my brother, maybe you need to pick up a book by Malcolm X. Malcolm did not change.
Check this
the
out.
media may have changed him, my brother. So we need to realize that you're not the enemy, brother. The people who are oppressing our people are the enemy. Instead of attacking me, my brother, we need to attack those who are abusing 16-year-old children and smashing their heads into police cars instead of bling-blinging in the era of terror.
But see, here we go. We're not talking about that right now. We're talking about hip-hop. That's a whole nother form. If you want to talk about that,
no, my
then
brother, it's all part of black experience.
That's
How can you separate that? being black, like James Baldwin said, being black in America is to be in a constant state of rage.
Reverend Scott, let me interpret something that my friend Coolio is saying. And
notice that. So the anchorman. So for those who join in this topic, there's a pastor saying that he believes no white people should be allowed to participate in hip hop for reasons he's given, and then Coolio has been not best pleased with that statement and was quite fiery towards him. And now the anchorman, who's a white guy, is now going to try to quote something that Coolio said to make something more clear, I assume.
I think at this point,
let me read something.
He's being a capitalist. And I think one of the things hang on one moment, Coolio. I think one of the things that Coolio is saying is that white money and white support of black artists helps make black artists very wealthy and influential in this country. So tell me what's wrong with that.
What's wrong with that is that the black community has been exploited, not just through.
All right, that's the end of part one. Let me just quickly part two. Any questions? Let me know. What I'll do as well is let me throw a link out there. This show might go the full 2 hours, or it might end early, depending on if people want to do the whole New Year's Eve stuff and all that good stuff, whatever. Right? So, hold on. Let me quickly find my show link. And while I put the show link, I'm gonna play part two. So while I put it there, so part two is this one, I think.
Let you understand. Took rock and roll and gave us an Elvis Presley, and as Neely Fuller once said in his book, and this directed to Coolio, and
that's quote Neely Fuller there.
Unless you understand white supremacy, everything else will just confuse you, and you must be confused, my brother.
But Pastor, they also took all white.
Very good quote there. If you my brother Neely Fuller, if you, I'm not gonna get right verbatim, but if you don't understand racism, white supremacy, and they think you do understand or only confuse you. Something like this. This is how he sells his book, his quotes and stuff. But yeah.
Baseball, and gave us Jackie Robinson, and they gave us all white network television, and they gave us Bill Cosby, and they gave us all white politicians, and gave us David.
For those joining, what we're doing, we're trying to unpack, like, basically when you're trying to do a Black Betterment movement, do you find challenges of when obviously the first stage is non-black people, which within this entire broadcast we eliminate that problem by making sure it's just black people practicing Black Betterment. But some black folks are connected through marriage, through socialing, through grandparenting or something like that. I don't know, right? And there's a close connection, and it might make it very hard to build with other black people who are very connected to non-black people. And I think the issue we want to highlight here is usually the black need is usually put in. So you might start a concept of trying to help black people, but you realize how quickly it becomes the second important need. The most important need is making sure that people groups who are currently in a better position than black people, who might even benefit from the demise of black people, making sure they're okay with the practice and they are somehow included or not, maybe questioned in a certain kind of way. And it's something we have to review as a community. Let's carry on listening.
Dinkins and Malcolm X and people holding office throughout America. So isn't that the way it works in this country? We mix and we make a stew.
Beyond the boundaries of this country. There are things, everything that was given by African people has been painted white, especially being a minister myself, if you look at religion.
Okay, Coolio and Pastor, I want to show you something. This is a video from that white rapper, Eminem, talking about exactly your point, Reverend. Can we show that now? This is an Eminem video.
I don't know if I can even play it. I don't know if they might even stop the audio. So let me skip that, whatever, and go to where he reads out the lyrics.
Rap. The lyrics are, though I'm not the first king of controversy, I am the worst thing since Elvis Presley. To do black music so selfishly and to use it to get myself wealthy. Coolio, you're up.
When you talking about something like that, man, you talking about Eminem. He just basically says what he wants to say. He has the right to say that because he lives in a country where you're allowed to say whatever you want to say. And it's just that simple. I don't agree with everything everybody says. I don't agree with everything he says. But I'm not, you can't
All right, so there you go. I mean, there's a part 4. Somehow part 3 went missing. I don't think is there anything in part 4?
Pastor, you may want to go first.
See the in it.
That's a false image of what being a black man is all about. And they seem to buy into that. We call this phenomenon, and especially when you're dealing with the hip-hop movies, all the blood and guts, we call this phenomenon Hollywood and the pimping of black death.
Say that again?
And basic.
Say that again?
Hollywood. And the pimping of black death. And I can't get into the minds of those white kids why they think it's cool to see a black man dressed like a thug and acting like a thug. But we're here to say now that black power is back, and back in full effect. As the Public Enemy once said, black is.
Let's see with that. So cool. So we're tackling what's the topic? Well, close black connections hinder Black Betterment. So we just watched a video there of. It was more so in the beginning. The tone of the two brothers. It was very, very sharp. Whatever. So we have to watch, make sure that when we're talking in public, we don't start fighting over certain things. Whatever. Right now, one thing with the show. As you know, I used to go Speakers Con a lot before COVID, and I mean some of these videos might not be the best to choose. But what I do want to choose is, every time I did try to talk about Black Betterment. Yes, there was always black people trying to be inclusive of non-black people, which is the problem. But also there was non-black people always in the shadows who would always try to derail it. Now, one of the things will happen is, unfortunately, when you do try to be inclusive of non-black people, you'll find that many derailments will actually come from, one, non-black people, and then two, black people are closely connected to non-black people who want to be the talking mouthpiece. So let me play one video here. Just see how I was dealing with. This was a brother from Afghanistan, I think, something like that. Not non-black brother, but let's see when he heard Black Betterment being spoke, and if he wanted to join and see what he could contribute. If you can't hear, I'm sorry, because it's this is content over everything. Big up that brother. Rewind. Quite quiet, but turn up.
I'm coming. Do you really think I'm coming to bring peace?
I tell you,
I tell you what, love everybody.
Nah.
I tell you no.
I'd rather division.
But rather what?
Division.
Okay. Let's get division. Go to.
Let's get that. Is this even my thing? Oh, there we go. So like that, there was a Hebrew brother preaching there. I think we got in a bit of in the intro, but now we go to when I was speaking in the midnight. I should say, midnight.
Well, before the camera came out, you said
cameras
something.
What's up, camera? What?
So this is context. I'm in Speaker's Corner, and I'm approached by an Afghani brother to talk about Black Betterment in some kind of way.
Well, we're talking about definitions. We're talking about bass guitar just a minute ago, but now we're talking about.
This is a camera conversation.
No, you can talk, yeah.
You don't really
Well, to be honest, we've resolved this gentleman here. I made a comment in the past. They made a comment in the past, didn't I? And I think you're questioning my comment. Oh, I'm good.
We can hear him.
Yeah, I'm good.
You got the line, yeah?
We're talking about who is black. It's not a conversation like Nigerian like having, but people really want to talk about who is black, who isn't black. And then I think you're talking who defines who's black. I say in my organization, me. So that made talking very easy. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So that.
He looks like he might be.
Yeah. Well, we don't really deal with the whole light skin, dark skin kind of thing unless we're trying to better the community.
You want to be in the camera? You don't, man.
I don't mind, bro.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm trying to get the definition of what Raven was saying to this brother.
Yeah. No.
Are you black?
Me?
So basically, the brother's asking is the person who wants to really get involved in all the black issues. This is to talk about including non-black people in black issues. And the first question asks is, do you identify black? Are you black? Do you see as black? And you always get a long pause, which is very interesting because that's not really a response that black people tend to get, but it is what it is.
I'm not white.
Do you identify as a black person?
I don't identify as a colourful stop.
Okay.
And then you get this whole thing to watch out. Then when you start talking about you always get like verbal gymnastics. So people will go, I don't identify as a color. And then you go, okay, you say something like African. They go, oh, I'm from Africa, whatever. We're all from Africa. They'll get things in the circle. And this is a derailment that brothers have to watch out for. We've all seen it before. But we're trying to highlight the value of black people, sticking with black people when it comes to black issues, and how sabotage happens from outside groups, but also inside people who are trying to do the bidding of outside pundits.
Alright, so what do you
I've never
identify
let no
as?
put a colour on me.
Right.
Never. No way. Not black, not brown, not orange.
Are you
nothing.
identified as black?
By who?
By
anyone.
anyone.
Not as far as I'm aware.
So you won't be joining any Black Betterment group, then, would you?
Very simple, really. Very simple. You're not black. Why would you? It's like if you're not a woman, why would you want to be in the women's group? Won't make any sense. But obviously, when it comes to undermining black progress, this is what we have to deal with. What we're mainly viewing this for learning purposes. We're aware of all these challenges. Play.
I've never tried to join any Black Betterment group.
Yeah, but it won't happen, though, will it?
Been trying to apply for your Black Betterment group thing. Don't,
Yeah.
you know,
You sound
don't try to
sour,
put that
bro.
on me. Don't flatter yourself.
No,
Don't
no,
flatter
no.
You
yourself.
sound a bit sour.
So it's this thing. So you what happens? You'll get a person who wants to either join or not join, but question certain things, and then when you highlight certain parameters, they don't want to join and they want to have a sharp tone. Very weird behavior, but something you have to be aware of.
We wouldn't even think about it because,
Wait, what's the question that you just asked me?
well, the question, do you identify as black?
Yeah.
The one after that.
I don't know, I can't remember that. My friend, maybe you.
You can't remember?
He said, how do you
The conversation that started is I made a comment in the group, didn't I? In the comment section,
Yeah.
where you were trying to quote unquote help black community.
No. You said
Am I
in the
mistaken?
comment section, before he tries to help our community, has he helped his own community?
Yeah, it's a very good. That's a very good point. Yeah,
And I said to you,
yeah,
as far as I'm concerned, my community is the people that I live around.
yeah,
I don't define my community by a colour or by a religion.
yeah, and
The definition description of community
Right.
is the people that you live around.
yeah, and
the
characteristics,
people
and
the
characteristics.
So, as a Londoner, my fellow Londoners are part of my community.
Yeah, so I
So
try.
to answer your question,
Yeah.
do I help my community
Yeah.
before I help another community?
Yeah.
For me, it's one community.
I'm glad you said
Okay.
that. So I try to train black people to ignore that because I feel that that isn't going to help black people. I feel that black people are in the most need of help.
Yeah.
So when we
I just
practice,
said I'm not a black person.
Exactly.
I'm not going to ignore it.
oh no, but as a non-black person, you can practice anything you like, innit?
Yeah, exactly.
Matter of fact, as a black person, you can practice what you like. I can't force a person to take interest in bettering their own community. Yeah, I can only show you the benefits and hope it makes sense to you.
No, but my community is London.
Oh no, but I'm talking through you to black people at the moment. So,
Talking through me to
yeah,
black people.
because
Why do you just talk through me to black people?
because you identify you're not black, but we're having a conversation about Black Betterment building. So the most important thing is black people get
through
something.
me to black people.
Yeah, through you to someone else.
So the camera's on.
Yeah,
To the camera, don't talk through
So-
me.
Well, I can't actually see it at the
Talk to
moment.
the camera.
Well, you was
Yeah.
having a conversation
Yeah,
with
we're
him.
having a conversation.
Hey, back up, fam. What are you
Yeah,
touching?
yeah, yeah, touching me.
You can't see
I'm
him.
good, man. We can see
Yeah,
you.
you know what I mean?
You see it.
But what I'm saying is, talking to you sometimes it seems very circular.
What are you getting so angry for, fam?
Yeah,
So yeah, one thing you realize is many non-black people, once you establish you're trying to stand on your own, you get aggression and stuff. No, of course, but there are many. Welcome, brother Cal. How's it going?
How you doing, brother Raven, man? How
Very
you
good.
doing?
It's good for you. I'm just trying to show. I think we spoke of it before. Some of the behavioral patterns of non-black people and non-Africans when you're trying to do something constructive and trying to really train black people how to be aware of the body language, the motivational types of black sabotage, black sabotage, this kind of stuff. And I'm just showing some examples of myself in the park. Want to do that. I also start showing that when black people are connected to non-black people and they're on maybe some kind of broadcast or shows, they might be more prone to argue and defend non-black people as in certain kind of things. And it's just trying to recognize that and definitely minimize that when it comes to seeking better. That's all right. So we're just now listening to Park and just listen to an Afghanistan brother who's not best pleased about not being able to join Black Betterment or something like this. And this kind of
But this
Touch
is
your back and you acted like you was under
You trying to control, man. So you crazy.
yeah.
All of
This is-
them white ideal people. Was that how you going with them?
No one didn't try to touch, man, fam. If they would have, it would have been unbloody crazy.
It's beneficial we don't touch each other, though. Isn't it? It's beneficial we don't touch each
Over
other.
here started to go.
Is it kind of rolling? Is it rolling?
No, this is a talk. Yeah. Where we go?
Yeah, no, so what we're saying is, yeah, I can't
So
remember.
what do you identify as?
Me?
You didn't answer. Yeah.
A Londoner, straight up, born and bred.
You should help the London community.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do help the London
So what do
community.
you do?
What do you mean?
What do you do to help?
The London community?
Yeah.
I raise a family. in London. I run businesses in London. I support people around me that might be slightly deprived, but I'm not here to start trying to boast.
Right, so here's what I do.
No, but I'm asking because you said that you.
Well, here's what I do. You can fit in. So I run a network that gets black people together on certain topics, whether it's health, self-esteem, land reform, justice, you name it, right?
I don't deal with discriminative organisations. I just deal with people that.
Why is it? Why?
So I think, you know, when people use words like discriminative organizations, you know, once again, these are like these kind of techniques to undermine what you're doing. You never really raise to it. Like I said, the best thing you can do as a community is make sure you have your criteria, and your criteria is black people having black people. So, like I said, I recommend you do not let non-black people in when it comes to black people. It just really derails what you're trying to do. But the second problem you have once you has kicked out non-black people when it comes to black people is the non-black identified black person who will always try to speak on behalf of non-black people, even though most of the topics have nothing to do with non-black people. But this is what we're going to try to learn how to unwind and how to fix.
How you call it?
Unity. I don't deal with no discrimination.
Well, neither do we. Neither do we. What we do? No, we don't.
Only black people can join you.
Well, no, because we are. Because we are victims of discrimination, we have a solution, which means self-determination.
Yeah.
So we are the victims.
I don't
of
deal with discrimination.
Neither do we. We deal with fixing discrimination. This is why we come together. But you, as a non-black person, that might make no sense. I don't even get what that
I don't deal with
that's alien science to me.
Segregation. Maybe that's better.
Say again?
I don't deal with groups that deal with segregation. I'm not about segregation.
So if a woman said they want to make a women's group, is that segregation?
If a woman.
So if women said they want to make a women group that deals with women issues, is that wrong?
I didn't say that was wrong. I said what I deal with.
You see, once again, circular, you give them examples and they'll take it somewhere else and pretend they don't understand. This is all part of the code, by the way. This is non-black people. They have their own code of how to derail things. I've seen it consistently. So just be aware of it, family out there. Blah, blah, blah.
It is segregation.
Yeah, but the question, I'm asking the question. Is it right or wrong in your judgment?
If a group of women made a group
that deals with women issues,
that's fine, but I won't have enough to do that.
So once again, it's fine for women to deal with women issues, but it's not correct for black people to deal with black issues. So you'll see yourself, this is the mindset of many non-black people, as well as black people, to be honest, right? So this is what you're dealing with. So keep your minds out. This is what you have to be aware of. Like I said, very rarely should you be talking to non-black people about anything. You should be talking through them to black people. But I'm just giving you the strategy of how to do it.
Because you're not a woman.
Exactly.
But more importantly, forget segregation, you're not a woman.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
So how can you ask me if I'll deal with that group? I wouldn't deal with it.
Well, yeah.
No, because we was talking about segregation, bro.
I'm saying that personally, I don't deal with segregation. I just deal with my community as the people that I'm around. The bus driver's black, the guy in the corner shop's Indian, the guy in the bagel shop's Jewish. They're all part of my community. Right. I've got love for all of them.
Yeah, and I've heard you say this a lot of time, and I think you kind of, your understanding might be slightly different to how we understand things.
I don't see things in black or white. Simple as that.
No, but that's not the case, bro. You have to think about people's experiences. You know what I mean?
HD, 3D and everything.
You have to think about people's experiences, though. You get me?
Well, he can't though, because he's not black.
No, but I do think about our experiences.
That's what I'm saying. This is why it's something
about my experiences.
But you're not saying your experience. You're saying that you don't identify as black.
Yes.
So I can't.
Trying to understand non-black people when they kind of derail Black Betterment will only confuse black people. That's why at a certain level, there's a certain level of non-seriousness you should be taking. Any non-black person who tries to even have any kind of criticism or any kind of comment. But there's the learning, and there has to be a way we learn how to deal with stage 1, non-black people, and stage 2, unsynchronized black people.
I can't see what you're talking about. You're talking about raising a family, having businesses, and all of those things pertain to you and help you. So I'm asking you what you're doing for your community, which is the wider community in London, and you just spoken about what things that help you.
No, what I do for my community.
No, but people put money into your businesses to help you,
okay,
and then having a family contributes to you.
What I say is that.
Is your missus the same racial background as you?
Say it again?
Is your missus the same racial background as you?
Is my missus similar?
Where's she from?
Similar.
What's her country? What's her country?
Actually, she's from the UK.
No, but meaning lineage.
lineage. To be honest, I don't go too much into my life story
Yeah,
on
I
the
hear you.
internet.
I hear that.
You know what I mean?
All right, well, you know.
Yeah,
I hear that.
couple of
Once again, everything's always a mystery. Can never really, wants to join the group but don't know where he's from. This kind of stuff.
around me still, from different places. You know what I mean?
wow.
So yeah, you know us Muslims got more than one wife, innit?
Oh, so you're a Muslim.
Oh, you're a Muslim, you know. Uh-oh.
No, but
Nah,
that
might
makes
have been a lie. That might have been a lie. Go through. What's next? Come with some more questions.
No,
I
I'm
like
just,
it,
I'm
I
just,
like it. Anything
no, because
from
you're
there?
not saying nothing.
Yeah.
Ali
really
Jihad, yeah, that's
like,
my name. Ali Jihad.
Right.
I've got some
Okay.
jokes there too, by the way.
Ali Jihadi in
Ali
the building.
Jihad, the hard, not I at the end. Not my I trying to get man's nick.
That's what you told me the first
No, I
place,
said
bro.
Ali Jihad. Jihad. Yeah, G.
All right, so yeah, we'll just listen to that. So, brother Cal, anything you'd like to add on the topic at all while you're here?
It's a brilliant topic, brother Raven, man, because this definitely has to be unpacked, man, because I have noticed, brother, that separation, brother, is the solution. I mean, the Pan-Africans have been speaking about it, whether it be the Garveyite, the Nation of Islam. The only way is to separate, and it's very tricky for us to do that. And yeah, man, this topic probably needs to be unpacked, man. Definitely needs to be unpacked.
Well, yeah. So I can't disagree with you at all. And what I would say is, so through the years of realizing the value of that, I've tried to find tangible ways of achieving that. And that's why in the digital age was like one of the first steps, was we're like, if we can create digital forums, digital places where it's just our community and they're talking about certain things, that's the very first stage, because getting black people in one kind of space to talk is an important thing, and that might be something to change. I think I was talking to sister last week, Tash, about this. So because she said she was having some issues where she was trying to get black people together to speak, but once again there was that two-stage problem where non-black people was one issue, and then people unsynchronized black people was part two. Whatever, people who were emotionally connected to non-black people, and I was felt to be doing the speaking for them for some reason, whatever. So yeah, very interesting.
I think also as well is that I spoke about this before. Well, the socialism is not just when it comes to labor, conservative. It's also in your life, interracial relationships, having platonic relationships. These are all socialism types of relationships, if we want to go down that path.
Yeah.
And the only way I see forward, brother, if I could go upon the forefathers of Pan-Africanism, is that we do have to separate in all things, even the platonic relationships, because as you always say, man, we're definitely inadequate. And I said this last week, and I know it's very controversial for a lot of us to understand that if you are connected to non-African people, based upon the principles of Garveyism, you are classed as an enemy. And this is very hard for us to understand. But when you understand what Garvey went through, Brother Raven, that he was dealing with, no different than what we're dealing with now, is that some of us were in interracial relationships, some of us were working for non-African people, some of us were, involved with them. And when it came for us to sort our own issues, emotional sabotorial tactics would appear out of nowhere. It was summoned up. And, look at, Father Divine. I always mention it as an example.
Yes.
For those African descendants, when they try to say, well, we can marry and, we can do these things, as you beautifully said, brother, the Black Betterment builder. And I agree with the blueprint. However, when you look at what he did, he led us into socialism. You know what I mean? So can we really trust the unsynchronized African descendants when they're in those types of fields? The answer is no, Brother Raven, because we haven't got nowhere,
Yeah.
nowhere at all.
The thing is, when a person's emotion really takes control and they start making decisions based upon it, it is problematic and it is hard. But I think one thing I try to do is I try to look at people where they're at, and that is why I think there is a value in making divisions. and putting a different expectation on different divisions. So one of the first layers is creating a space where all black people, all backgrounds, all Africans can come together and just communicate and try to build on as many things as they can build on. Amongst them, there will, I mean, people don't like the word elite, but unfortunately, I'm going to use the word elite. I believe in like elitism in the sense of a person who's dedicated to fixing black issues and trains themselves in the ways and methods of doing it. So from that standpoint, we can define what could be seen as a black elite, a smaller number group who take on the more heavy lifting kind of roles. And I think sometimes you won't be able to reach certain people who are heavily integrated mentally and socially and stuff. But despite all the different divisions and stuff and different lifestyles people choose, there has to be one constant, and there has to be a way of branding that constant. And I think what I've got on the screen at the motion, something I've put last research, and I think moving forward there can't be any other starting pack like the Black Love campaign in the sense of constructive black man, constructive black woman has to be a primary. And the reason why it has to be a primary is because all other kind of interactions with non-black people when you're building can be severed whenever certain important things come up in future time or different opportunities come up. But the thing is, with the whole miscegenation and this kind of stuff, because of the nature of how lives and business and marriages work, once you're arranged in a non-African or non-black union, it could literally be a lifelong kind of I guess a lifelong involvement, right? Especially with children, mortgages and money and this kind of stuff starts getting involved. So that's why one of the things that everyone I recommend we should be pushing forward is the value and importance of why a constructive black man with constructive black woman is the starting point of betterment. Like it's part of the starting point. It's like the betterment what they call it, not startup kit. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So like if you want a list of things that you need to understand the startup kit, long lasting stuff, the black love is one. And that's one that we probably have most problems with because many black people still believe in the concept that love has no color and love plays no part in fixing a nation, and love has no part in well, I'm saying love, but marriage and union, this kind of stuff. And they have a very Disney concept of courtship with it, right? So it is an interesting thing, but it's something that I see mainly in black people. And once again, when you see me speak in the speakers corner with Asians and Arabs and this kind of stuff, their concept of marriage and love is very different. It is very community based. It is very inheritance based. It is very culturally based. This kind of stuff, right? So, but when those people communicate with black people, they don't seem to let the black people know that, and that's why some of the black people are confused when they want to marry into some of these communities, and the answer is no, because at one token they're saying love everyone, everyone's love, and they'll use religion that as long as you're this, you can marry. But then what they're actually practicing is the word no, and black people become confused because black people think that kumbayaism is a real thing and people really believe it, and they don't really understand that at a certain point it actually is a strategy to undermine black progress to a certain point. And that's what we're trying to unpack with some of the inconsistencies of when myself are talking to many non-black people and we engage in circular speaking. We're gonna look, let's see what's wrong.
Brother Open, would you agree? Would you say, Brother Open, is that when it comes to the black love,
yeah,
would be nationalism before the black love? All due respect to you, brother.
Well, the thing is, no, I can't disagree. What it is basically the way I view things. So to answer your question very quickly, yes, that's yes. But the thing is, I have to move at a pace of the average day-to-day person, and the average day-to-day person, for the most part, not all of them, for the most part, will probably try to find a partner and will try to impregnate someone being impregnated, right? So the reason why I push with that is because they might not understand nationalism. That they can go a whole lifetime without knowing even any kind of political nationalism, right? But they will understand courtship. They will understand marriage, or they'll actively seek to be with one. So in that process, I'm definitely putting resources, making sure that when you do that, you understand the value of constructive black love, and that's. But you're right. If your mind isn't in a certain way, no matter what you do, it's going to go the opposite way, right? It's just what it is.
It is a thing, brother Raven, right? And this is very sad, and I have to be honest with you, is that every non-African person, brother Raven, they have the ability, right, to indoctrinate just with their aura and just with their mannerism. They can indoctrinate colorism. They
Yeah.
can indoctrinate black people to hate themselves.
Yeah.
Now, because of these types of power that they have, right? Why I was saying that the nationalism needs to come forward, because I have noticed, growing up and even day-to-day life, is that when they come amongst us, right, all they've got to do is trigger any one of those blueprints which leads us to be dysfunctional, right? And we basically are controlled. So would you say that if we can promote the nationalism, right, and get our people to understand nationalism, because I said it before, brother, they've assassinated this word now. They shut you down in all ways. So we have to get our people to understand nationalism, because when you understand W.E. Du Bois, he's one of my heroes, Pan-African is hero, but because he was socialized with the Europeans too much, brother, it led for him to, be triggered by these envy and hatred for the Honorable Marcus Garvey, who wants to promote nationalism. So him being around that union, right, led for him to do what he did. Was they calling him names or such? W. Du Bois, the Europeans? No. But because of their presence being in there, he automatically viewed them as a savior, and they were right how to control us, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, we see this. We see certain behaviors happening all over the world. Many black people have been conditioned to look outside for solutions and to not have any real belief that black people can really, amount to any kind of tangible betterment ideas. And it is problematic, but this is what we're trying to. So look, I can't disagree with the concept of black nationalism, and and I put a link in there, guys, for you to research. Black nationalism is a type of nationalism, a pan-nationalism, which espouses the belief that black people are a race and seeks to develop and maintain a black racial and national identity. Black nationalism involves around social, political, economic empowerment of black communities and people, especially to resist assimilation into white culture, through integration otherwise, and maintain a distinct black identity. So yeah, black betterment, it correlates with this in the sense of black ownership, black identity, black culture, black control, and just wherever you're existing, you maintain your cultural norms, your cultural practices, and your betterment status. You try to make I think Jewish people do this really well. They recognize that if they ever become integrated, it doesn't really work out for them. And I think black people, we're witnessing hundreds of years of challenges all over the board in the diaspora, and many people not understanding, and I think they feel that full integration is the solution. And with there's a video I actually wanted to show as well, and it's let me find it. Let me get rid of one and upload one. So which one should I? Let me get, remove this, and let me go to share. I was watching a video. I don't, like I said, I don't tend to look at UK politics at all, but I do just for behavioral pattern and science and stuff and social science. But I see if I can. They do actually label it, so I can actually put a time book. Excellent. So I was because obviously some brothers are not best pleased with some of the choices David Lammy does, but it's interesting when you look at the practices of people to find out how their mind works, and could they really be a force for black people and stuff. Not that I'm out here looking at politicians for any kind of solution, which is sad really that I speak that way. But when he did get a chance to speak about this, was a topic about identity politics was the topic, and he got to speak, and this is what he said in his time to speak. You find it. Right there. I think it's right there.
Particularly English identity.
All right, so let me go back a bit. This is T.
Supremacy. And I don't just talk about white supremacy when I say that. I'm talking about people in the world who effectively are ethnic nationalists saying that one group of people are more supreme than others. And that is what he is up to in Turkey. But I say also in this country, and that's why I talk about Farage, to go to the question at the back, that there are people who want to describe, particularly English identity. I'm really comfortable being British, but I want to assert very strongly, I am also English. And I want to challenge those who want to confine Englishness to solely an ethnic Anglo-Saxon identity. I defend my right to be English. And so, yes, there are people doing that. Yes, there are people.
So the reason I highlight that is because just to give context to the viewers who are listening, currently English is a language, but also it's an ethnic group of people who descend from the Germanic tribes who came
That's
out.
right.
Yeah, so it's an ethnic group, and it's a cultural ethnic norm, and I think if the pictures before they showed what the Germanic people look like. Let me go back to TTPs.
But then, brother, can we?
And let me just say this.
Journalist.
And the reason I say is because this brother here, when it comes to all the agendas in the world, the agenda that he wants to really fight for is for him as a black person to be viewed as a ethnic English person, to at least. So already the priorities and the way the mindset is working. I don't know if that is collectively in black people's best interest or anyone's best interest really, but it was interesting. By the way, go ahead, brother Carr. I just had to bring that up. I just thought it was very interesting.
This is what I was saying, brother, is that whenever you see, brother, whenever you are in a room of a collective of non-African people, right?
Yeah.
Because they have unfortunately been our oppressors, in the sense the plantation, right? Is that naturally when they're in the same room, you are actually going to humble yourself. You're naturally going to gratitude and compliment where they're from, due to the fact that if you offend them, right, then you're going to have an emotional breakdown of realizing that you are an African and there's nothing to do about it. Which is what I was saying, brother, is that if and this is nothing directed at you, but I was saying that if our people could understand the nationalist aspect and keeping away from non-African people, because we don't have to promote hate,
yes,
and we have to ill-treat them, but psychologically, as you know, brother Raven, is physically and visually and also auditorily, whenever you hear them, see them, you naturally become subservient. Imagine if you want to try and organize our people, right? And you are thinking about, well, if I sort that out for African people, right? And I have, for example, an Asian parent. And when I'm saying Asian, for those who don't understand it, I'm referring to Indians, Pakistanis, Chinese, Japanese, the whole continent. Because as you know, brother, I speak as a collective, not individualist, right? Now, that's going to be a big problem, brother. So can we then have certain templates, brother, that will help the mind not to be too subservient when they're around us? Because as I said, brother, and this is in every last one of us, the moment they're in the room, we start to humble ourselves. Our voice changes, our language changes, all because of we don't want to offend them. And it's very ironic because we're the one that's been, tortured and bullied, not allowed to be ourselves, but yet still we want to make sure they're okay. We need a template, brother.
Yeah, and I have to agree with that. And this is something I've observed, and many people have observed. And I think what Brother Carr is saying is that he's trying to get the most tangible solution. And there's many coaches out there, they say prevention over cure. So the prevention over cure is just, have time alone, not be around and try to integrate in spaces that has more of your cultural norms in it. I think one of the truths we have to really recognize is being here in the diaspora and people discovering certain things very late in life. People are going to be integrated some way or another. So even though I think one of the things we can have is we have to recognize that people are going to be integrated in some kind of way, but how do you psychologically become detached? What kind of processes do you do? And this is why one of the solutions I try to put by is you might find it hard to control your surrounding because the areas you live and maybe your work because you need to work and you struggle to find whatever it might be, right? But one of the things we can do is if we do choose to engage in social media and these kinds of stuff, we can control our algorithms. We can make sure, and that's something I should have really, let me post that in here as well. Let me see if I can find that. I've been actually making on Instagram. Let me type Black. On Instagram, I've been making a database of all the Black love. There we go, Black love data. All the Black love. That's the one. Black love data, Instagram pages. Sorry, right? And I've been collating them and all that good stuff. There's been some I've had to kick out because they haven't really upheld the concept of Black love correctly as far as I can see definitions, which is something we've gone on in the past, you know. But I guess what I'll be doing now is also be pushing Black nationalism and this kind of stuff. Because I think if you can control your own algorithm, as in every time you log into an app, you're seeing a very consistent thing. This is a spell breaking concept. So I'm going to give everyone on the in the group some of the Instagram links. It's just app. If you take a screen grab, blah blah blah, what it is. And if you're on Instagram and you want to have the algorithm of just seeing constructive Black man with constructive Black woman, I keep telling that Black people are collectively inadequate. So unfortunately, even the concept of courting and constructive, the constructive nature between male and females, men and women, whatever, even that is under threat and under attack and isn't really promoted in a wholesome, constructive way that I think Black people can digest and make the best of. So I'm just giving some of the pages I came across, and feel free to follow these. I don't know them personally. Once again, I will just be collating any kind of page that is dedicated. And this is like the very step one. Step two, obviously, if you're on Facebook or you're on WhatsApp or any Black-owned made app, that'd be great as well. Forming forums that are just tackled to Black people and Black issues, very important. I think, like Brother Cal was saying, unfortunately, even when that is done, there are some people connected in some way. So when people try to get things going in there, other people are trying to be very bringing other people in. What we're going to do at the moment, while I've just posted those fantastic groups, I'm also, let's look at me talking to, I think I had a part 2 there, didn't I? So this is me talking. I think the same gentleman came over, and let's see if he's. Let's see what he was saying.
I hope you carry this over there. Yeah? Yeah, that's cool. We're good. Yeah? Yeah, man.
Full different colour you. Any other issues? Hold on. Yeah, and that's why there is nothing fruitful from our. You made a comment on YouTube, and my comment was that if you haven't helped your own community, how are you going to help our community, right? So it's ask him what he's done for his community, and if he's done nothing, how is he going to help our community? And then you start saying, my community is London and the world and the universe. So that's what you
say, the London, the world and the universe. You misquote me again.
What did you say, just because I was wrong?
I said my community is my local community in London, as far as I'm concerned. London is my community.
All right.
And that's nothing about the world.
Yeah, also, you have to remember there's always going to be like pretend outrage and pretend anger over misquotes or non-quotes or whatever. And anytime you talk to any person who's trying to derail Black Betterment, one of the things they want to do is focus on feelings and then describe feelings. So I'll be aware of it, and I'll try to conduct yourself in a way that doesn't allow them to have backdoor retreats.
Okay.
So stop making things up.
All right.
Stop making things up.
I was practicing.
So as you see, the whole stop doing that is the attempt to try to, start a new conversation about falsely accusing people. And when you ever publicly practice Black Betterment, you have to have ways to ignore that kind of behavior.
Deception then. Okay,
That's
cool.
called being what? Disingenuous.
Yes, I was practicing deception. So let's backtrack in London, right?
Stop being disingenuous.
Right. I was wrong, you were right. Now shall we continue?
What do you want to talk about? What do you want to talk about? What do you want to talk about?
It's quite good. Well, I think, me personally, you have a speaking difference, and anytime I see people who are identified or identify as black, there seems to be similar confusion. I think there's something going on in your brain computer that makes you interpretate words as directly against you or something you stand for. Yeah, and that's why there is nothing fruitful from our conversations. That's what I'm saying.
He's overtly anti-black. He said, I don't want to hear about black betterment. I don't know what the hell kind of Muslim would say. I don't want to hear about black betterment. So, well, I do know what kind of Muslim, but people don't want me to say it. You don't know what I'm talking about. SSMB, I won't say the thing. You know what I mean? No, because I had a agreement with some brothers last back some of this year. But you know what I'm talking about.
Do you have any questions you want to ask? Because the thing is, you could be part of the community. Hold on, one time. You could be part of the community, but you're the one who's pushing yourself away. Yeah? Rather than like stand from the sidelines, you could be in front doing stuff, innit? But you're not part of that, but you're not part of the mandem, innit? You're not part of the mandem, innit? Well, I'm saying you're not part of the mandem, innit?
I'm not part of what?
The mandem. You're not part of
What mandem?
this mandem. You're not part of it.
I'm not part of my own mandem.
That's good.
I never exactly be part of the mandem.
Exactly. But then why are you talking to us? Why are you talking to us about what we're doing?
I come up here because I saw you push the Somali on you, and I wanted to come down here to make sure no one I'm still Muslims. That's why.
And now you've been successful.
Originally, that's why I come up here. Okay. But now everything's calmed down.
So back context, this is a Asian brother from Afghanistan, and there's a few, but whenever black people build, you get people from the shadows either wanted to join or want to stop what you're doing, and when you ask them, they say they don't want to join, and actually they're here for something else. I think he's mentioned a situation where there was a argy-bargy between two people, and he came down to and this was, to try to make separation between black people and Muslim people. This was, I guess, kind of one of the
that political science tactic there. What he did there was definitely
yes. Yeah. So we're analyzing it. We're seeing. So he eventually came down to there was argy-bargy between a Muslim brother and another brother, and he was there to back the Muslim brother because this is something he was saying. It's funny. I think he was from Afghanistan, and when I have one-to-ones with many Afghanistan people, they're very quick to tell me how much their entire country dislikes black people. But they're very quick to tell me this, and it's like a matter of fact and a casual thing. So it's when you see like Afghanistan people wanting to join in, as they claim, to Black Betterment, it's interesting. But obviously not everyone is like this, and so there's some people who are very different, but it's the ones who are not that we're focusing on.
Thinking I might as well spend my time doing something constructive.
Like
trying to build with other
like
people.
Would you come on disrespecting Black Betterment?
When did that change, mate?
Come on. When did you change? Question and not answer it. If you're going to ask a question,
when did you change from that?
So what I'm thinking, while I'm standing around looking after my brothers, I might as well do something constructive while I'm up here. And the only other people that I'm seeing do something.
There's a Somali.
Say what?
Yeah, look, there's a Somali gang member here.
Yeah.
There's another Muslim member here. So there was nothing against Muslims. They just had an altercation themselves.
No, at that time they did.
No,
at that time they did. No, because they were aligned with Sarah and them, man. One second. Stop.
Aligned? Who is aligned? Who is aligned with Sarah?
That was personal.
What you saying about the Sarah?
One second.
You're making your own story up, fam.
Maybe I don't know if you're aware of the history, yeah? There were some other guys here, Sarah and some other guys that were dissing the Quran and they were dissing the Muslims, yeah? So what happened is, them man that was saying F Allah, F the Quran and all that kind of stuff there, and calling the Prophet on the P word, them man originally, Respect, and also him I think, but definitely Respect, initially came down to back them man. Okay. Them man that were dissing Islam, they came down to back them man.
Back them from what, like?
Back them.
Did he know that though?
Have their man's back.
From no one hurting them.
Have their back.
It's man them, innit?
Sarah came to, Respect came to have Sarah's back.
None of them came and made the same
and back up what Sarah's on, yeah?
He made Sarah apologise, is it? So he wanted to bring Black Betterment. He wanted to bring peace to the issue. What's wrong with that?
Listen to what I'm saying.
Black Betterment.
Listen to what I'm saying. Yeah? These lot were backing the guys that were trying to oppress Islam. Yeah?
Oppress Islam. Oppress Islam. Okay.
You see the strategy there. A lot, like there's certain keywords that can allow black people to really go off on one. And obviously, when people are connected to a religion or any kind of Abrahamic faith of any type, what happens is you do get that kind of group kind of mindset. And one thing that non-black Abrahamic faith people do is they will use the religion to rally people together.
That's
You'll
right.
see, yeah, you'll see a lot. I mean, with me, when I first went to the park, it was the first kind of big, hey, whatever, like, and actually, most people, when it comes to religion, most people like to humble themselves and step up. But this, these are not the things that's going to necessarily work against me, whatever. But I am aware of the language, and hence why I called it out here. Go, oh, I see what you're doing.
Okay. We've identified you have a speaking difference. You're constantly demonstrating this. There's no value to what you're saying.
I don't even understand what
There's
you
no
mean by
value.
that. Listen, explain speaking difference.
Yeah, basically, we're using one word and he's interpreting something else.
Why is man acting like they don't know about the
That's
history?
an interpretation and
Don't act like
comprehension.
you don't know about the history.
Listen,
Don't act like
the
you
words
don't
we're
know.
saying.
Not different.
Listen, it's a
Different.
different. Well,
Interpretation and comprehension different.
look at what he just said. Look at what he just said.
What's he saying?
Look what he's saying.
What did he say?
He's saying there's a plot against Islam. He's going somewhere.
There's a plot against Islam. You think?
I want to know what he's
By
doing.
who? By gang? Tell you what. They could have took advantage of my position.
I came down nothing to do with Sarah, nothing at all. So not on my name, yeah? One person you're talking about. Respect one person. I didn't know respect before he came down. I didn't know.
So yeah, people always try to individualize and plot people against each other and try to one person does one thing and they try to like brand that against everything else, this kind of stuff. So this would be the day-to-day norm if non-black people were in the circles of black people who are practicing betterment. Their issues would take priority. Black people would be subservient and very humble in trying to make sure that the needs and wants of non-black people come first. And you tend to find that needs and wants actually don't amount to anything. It's more feelings and this kind of stuff. And this is what I've observed. So these are the things we have to learn and how to really avoid.
So would you say, would you say, Brother Raven, that there has to be a template around how to decipher when they accuse us what they are guilty of, and also how to shut down when they try to assimilate into our culture? Because one thing I've noticed, I was listening to you at the park and that, listen to the Afghanistan the non-African language. He has a language that is based upon the patois, as what they call the urban language.
Oh yeah, the Wagwan Arabs and the Wagwan Asians.
And when you understand languages, brother, and I'm sure you do, is that there's certain words that activate the frequency of the mind. The ancient African ancestors with this down in the scrolls, that you could use a certain rhythm and a language that the brain understands, and you can actually be hypnotized by what's been saying, meaning that the way how he's talking, brother, you'll think that he's a brother himself, one of us. So, is there a way, brother, that you could come up with?
Yeah, well, there is. So
yes,
what I was pushing for that. So obviously, look, we're well aware that people have with certain people and cultural norms are cultural norms, and to a certain extent, when things are harmless, we can say they're harmless, whatever, right? But generally, the area of interest I enter is what I was describing as the Wagwan Arabs and the Wagwan Asians, where what would happen is there would be this kind of collective trying to really speak and be a part of the cultural norms of black people. And that was step one. But step two was using that to then get black people to get off focusing on self and focusing on other things, and also using it as a way to control. I'm your brother. I'm your brother. I'm your brother. I mean, I think the first time it really happened in the Speaker's Corner was there was actually an Asian white Muslim, and he was very displeased with the concept of Black Betterment, and he kept on asking me questions about what happened if a black man and a white man was fighting. Who would you want the black man to back? He was really taking it somewhere else, and he was very upset, and then he kept on pointing at his black friends and saying they're my friends, mine. It was maybe he had issues, or maybe actually he was practicing some kind of norm that certain people do when they're trying to control black people. I don't know. It's hard to tell sometimes. especially in Speaker's Corner. There is many challenges going on in Speaker's Corner. But yeah, so it's true. I think if we, the Wagwanists, we used to call them Wagwanists. Like it's like, it's the average person sees through certain things, but the problem is not everyone can actually see some of these things. So I guess that's why asking certain questions, and I guess the shocking thing is to ask people questions like, what is your views on black nationalism? What is your views on black love? What you know what I mean? What are your views on Black Betterment? Like, because and unfortunately, many of the most even the biggest speakers who go Speakers Corner, the black brothers from the Caribbean, from Africa, where it might be, right? Even then, I will work with them on a level as in they're doing something as an individual, and I'll support them in life and make sure they're doing well. But not all of them are completely synchronized with Black Betterment. Do you know what I mean? What you tend to find, if you were to really observe many of them, is many of them have faced many hardships for being black in the park. So by being identified as black, they've been under attack, they've been harassed, they've been bullied. I don't know the word bullied, but attempted bullied, I should say, whatever, right? By a considerable amount of non-black people and maybe unsynchronized black people, whatever, right? And they haven't really managed to join the dots. To be honest, they do join when they're in pain. They kind of join the dots to try to step to the other black brothers for, I guess, assistance, whatever, right? But generally, they're not connecting the dots that this is going to keep on happening. Yeah, whenever you step out of line, whenever you say something that a non-black person doesn't like, and you're trying to change the hierarchy order in another community, whatever it is, they're going to fight back. They're going to fight back, and that's why you've seen so many wrestling challenges and fighting challenges in Speaker's Corner towards black people. Most of the challenges you see on Speaker's Corner are non-black people towards black people.
Because our ancient ancestors, Brother Raven, right, particular Imhotep, who was the master of understanding psychology, is that many times in the scrolls, brother, there was a thing called enter the spirit. And enter the spirit was a method that the ancient Africans would use, that if you wanted to get someone to connect with you, whether it be going against another army or maybe perhaps some form of a relationship of some sort, is that you enter the spirit of adapting to their moods, adapting to their whims, adapting to their desire, to the extent that they'll have nothing to resist or go against to you. And what I've noticed with the non-African people, that they use this tactic that lowers our defense. The moment you hear one of the ancient African dialects, right? For example, Patois, it lowers our defense down, because we, in the house, I mean, one of my parents is Caribbean, and I used to hear the Patois all the time. So when you hear that and you're hearing someone else using it that's not from your nation, automatically lowers your defense, because it's like, okay, they're saying showing respect, they're showing humility, they must be of like-minded. So that's what I was saying, brother. Is there a way for you to come with a blueprint, particular for the adults and the youth, to combat this hypnosis language?
Yeah. Well, it's something we can work on. I can write that down and see if there's any kind of like marketing strategy we can have to like desensitize, be awareness. It also happens in a different form as well. Even in the African brothers who might be Yoruba or Igbo or Twa, whatever it might be, all on the continent, whenever they might see a non-black person speaking their language, there is a great wonderment. They go, "Oh, you've learned it," and I've noticed the defense also goes down. As in, like, wow, someone from another place of an area I kind of respect, wherever, has learned the language I speak every day, so they're gonna get favorable treatment just for that effort they've made. So it's, it is an interesting dynamic, but it's like, it's something we can write down to try to work on. I've put the link out there, family guys. So basically today is New Year's Eve in not in Ethiopia but here, and I know many of you might be celebrating with your family, so we might end the show at 11:30 because you guys might want to spend family. I don't know, but if there's anyone who wants to jump on, I've put the link on. Feel free. The topic is: does close non-black connections hinder Black Betterment? And what we're tackling is being connected to non-black people in certain aspects of life. Does that compromise internally black people when it comes to betterment? Does it make black people second guess their choices? Do they bring up certain topics that isn't really of a black betterment nature, but they feel they have to because of why they connect? What we've been showing a whole lot of behaviors of how black people behave. One when they're around other non-black people, and then also we'll show a quick video here of this is a sheriff who's married to a European lady and is part of the U.S. Police force, whatever it might be, and you'll see already you have a semi-hostile kind of body language. I've had to actually blackify this so the algorithm doesn't shut down the page. So sorry about that. Let's play it.
And for the country, really, here to talk about how to keep our police safe is Sheriff David Clark of Milwaukee County, Wisconsin. He is going to be speaking at the Republican convention tomorrow night. Sheriff, thank you very much for that horrific day. I spoke to the heads of the Sheriff Department, the Police Department, and the state police down there, and they told us how their hearts were reeling. Their message is peace and coming together in the country. What's your message?
You don't believe that for 1 minute, do you?
That their message is?
Yeah.
That's what they said to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe them.
Any protests over the deaths of these cops today in Baton Rouge?
I don't know that.
Any riots or protests over the police officers in Dallas, Texas?
What are you at?
It's a pretty simple question.
I asked you what's your message to the people. Their message is one of peace. What is your message?
My message has been clear from day one 2 years ago. This anti-cop sentiment from this hateful ideology called Black Lives Matter has fueled this rage against the American police officer. I predicted this 2 years ago. So what I want to know,
okay, Sheriff.
Do I want to know?
With all due respect, do you know that this was because of that?
Yes, I do.
As a law enforcement officer?
I've been watching this for 2 years. I predicted this. This anti-police rhetoric sweeping the country has turned out some hateful things inside of people that are now playing themselves out on the American police officer. I want to know, with all of the black-on-black violence in the United States of America, by the way, when the tragedies happened in Louisiana and Minnesota, you know that 21 black people were murdered across the United States? Was there any reporting on that?
Black officer who was killed today. But
was there any reporting on that?
Sheriff, please, let's just keep the volume down. So I understand, and listen.
I'll stop it there, goes on. But what I'm saying, what you notice is that the police officer very hostile towards the host on them. You'll notice that the air of interest will be around the police force losing their lives and black people being violent, this kind of stuff. Sometimes it's a controlled opposition, sometimes it's actually what's been paid for, but sometimes it actually is self-inducing. Sometimes this is self-built, and people work. I mean, you see it in the speech going as well. So interesting dynamic. Last but not least, let's play me another Asian brother. I think he asked me a question, and hopefully it's loud enough.
Raven.
But how can we
What's up, brother?
One question. This is very controversial, right?
Right.
In regards to if you're in a relationship, marriage to the Africans,
yes,
who one of their parents is a non-African,
mm-hmm.
Don't you think that you need a blueprint to help the Africans who don't have a non-African parent to tackle that? The reason I'm saying that for, brother, obviously in Garveyism, it's kind of simple.
Yeah.
At the same time, we have to modify certain due to certain times.
What's the question? The question how to if there are people of African descent who have a parent who might not be of African descent, they've got one African parent, right? And you're saying a blueprint of how to handle those individuals.
yeah, how to handle those individuals, yeah, because you understand what I'm saying, bro?
Yeah, how I handle it is because funny enough, some people just clearly eradicate the option, right? But I don't. But what I do is I lean them. I lean. It's actually because some who might fully embrace Betterment or Pan Africanism, whatever, they have an understanding of urgency and importance. So they can identify that they have a grandma or a mother or father, whatever, who's from another continent, but the African continent and the African nature, whatever, is the primary or the only, because the others are fine. And there are those who exist, and you can see them. But there's also those who are obviously split down the middle, and for them, I just give them Black Betterment building. I give them a way for them to do a few activities that can benefit Black people, and I make it very straightforward. But generally, there will be no need for a person who is split on how to operate to be on any kind of like higher choice making kind of board or committee. It wouldn't. It wouldn't. But then it is a thing. Like I think having philosophies, as in like when to identify as a certain thing. And with Black Betterment building, it is only dealing with Black issues. So whether you've got a Japanese grandma or a great, whatever granddad, whatever it might be, or whatever, that isn't an issue, because it's just like the way I tell people is there's women movements, and they just cater for women, but every woman has a dad, and most of them probably have a son or whatever, right? But it's focusing on the women issues for that thing. So I tried to use that analogy, that example, to try to and that might be the idea there of how to make people disconnect from other needs by saying once you're practicing this particular thing, it doesn't matter that you have connection to others, because women have connection to men, but yet they stay dedicated to the women's needs when they do that kind of stuff they're doing on the women's movement, that kind of stuff. That might be one way.
It does need to be unpacked, brother, because that type of relationship, man. I mean, as they say, and no disrespect to our African brothers and sisters who have those types of parents, is that one day they want to be African and then Wednesday they want to be non-African, and that, brother, historically has been very detrimental to our movements, believe it or not. And there needs to be for them deal with that, not to bring it in to sabotage our movements.
Well, that's I think you said it there. You said bring the sabotage movement. So one thing I say is in life, life is made of many multiples, right? And people can chew gum and walk at the same time. But there is a distinction between actual acts. So it's like if we're playing a rugby match, you cannot start playing football while we're playing rugby. This doesn't make sense. So clearly defining the Black Betterment movements, the things that we are doing. We are building a bank. We are building a design company. We're building a fruit storage place, whatever it is that we're doing. In that act, it is one primary. There is no additional stuff. And if people want to do additional work, that's in their time outside in their own thing. That has nothing to do with what it is, and it cannot be a topic. So, for example, we're here now, and we'll be talking about Black issues, and people will come to this show that's about Black issues and bring up non-Black issues. So that's off color. That's not correct. And I think, I guess it's something we have to review ourselves, as in, like, obviously we're trying to be kind and correct and allow people to, to answer questions, whatever. But I think so downtrodden, so unsynchronized, so disorganized is Black, content, that it can easily be infiltrated with non-Black stuff, and there's almost an entitlement to talk about non-Black people, and there's almost like we have to focus on the needs, or we have to focus on the feelings of non-Black people, whatever. Also becomes limiting. Like, for example, there might be someone who wants to say something about a behavioral pattern that's been observed from a certain group that might have disdain for Black people for whatever reason, and we might be limited in what we can say about it, because it might trigger someone else who is connected and feel that don't talk about that, even though the reason we're talking about it is because we're trying to build a defense mechanism for that particular action. because it isn't working in black people's best favor. So yeah, well, what we have here is we have I can't remember, me and an Asian brother. He might be from Africa. He's either from Africa or Pakistan. I can't remember. I'm sure he'll say, but I can't remember what it's about.
Against like
big up content and everything. Good channel. Brother runs it.
like Western, white, British values, people like culture, as opposed to against blacks. Like, because blacks are a minority, we don't really think about them so much. Like,
so the brother's telling me that. So just so you know, when I go Speaker's Corner, I think brother was highlighting the Wagwan Arabs and the Wagwan Asians, and there's a lot of that with their brothers. They love each other. That kind of Muslim or Christian, whatever it is that they share, and they're all one. But then what happens is, unfortunately, tapes are revealed, and there was one particular incident where some Asian brother had a tape where he was talking to another Asian lady, making fun of the mothers of some other black people, and this came out, and people were displeased.
Wow.
Yeah, this was a kind of a big thing then. He was
black and the black people's mothers.
Yeah, this came out, and what it was, there was actually words in the language that was a derogative words used particularly for black people. So certain words were invented, and obviously black people are naive to this. We don't speak some of these languages, whatever. But it came out because there's the arguments that go on in the back, and then when the arguments go in the back, they'll use this as weapons to look. So it never came out in a way where it was like, where your allies, you need to know the truth. It was, you've upset me, so I'm not going to say how you speak. I've recorded you, this kind of stuff, right? So anyway, it came out. So then a lot of the black brothers were very wary of some of the Asian individuals because they wanted to know why was it that this was going on for so long and I wasn't included. No one told me what it was. So obviously when Asians will ask, because obviously I've been very consistent with my message since I've gone there. So Asians would approach me and just ask me questions about, do I trust Asians and this kind of stuff like this, right? And
you trust them?
Yeah, this is a question. I do trust Asians, and this conversation is kind of going that way. Where this brother, I can't remember how it started because they start filming halfway through like a epic talk, right? But so we're at the point now where I'm asking him. I think he's made it clear that in his community, there is a distrust of black people and even a fear of violence, I think it was. And I'm trying to establish, is that fear of violence bigger from the African or bigger from the European? And this is where we join the conversation, and we'll just play and see what he said.
But in terms of like the white culture is more the mainstream culture, do you know what I mean? It's like, for instance, like obviously, like in terms of like my family, they don't drink or anything, right? So they might be against like the white people who they see might be on like drinking out, stuff like that.
Yeah. But that's the doing. That's something they're doing. What I'm saying is, you said that when I mentioned is that mistreatment of black people, you said kind of is, and they think they come from the backwards mentality and they might think they're very violent. So, it was the violence. And I was saying, do they feel the same way for people Europeans? They said white people.
Yeah, but they got stereotypes of Europeans, but they're different stereotypes.
So overall, which one would you say is most mistreated in that regard from your community?
Like from my community, I think.
So very plain, I'm asking him which community, from his awareness, is more mistreated, the European or the African from the Asian standpoint? Just because remember, this is a conversation that this brother started towards me. I didn't start towards him.
It's not really a big deal.
Is it Europeans or Africans?
I don't really know, because to be honest, we don't. I don't think that we have a big issue against black people, like black converts and stuff. Like they love their minutes. You know, black converts get decent treatment. Like
here's what it is. Individually, everyone's gonna love everyone. I know this, right? But you spoke to me about it. I know spoke to you, right? You said that there might be it might be prevalent in certain areas that they distrust black people, right? And I'm asking, is it the same for European white people?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Right. So and then the question was, which one is it worse? Is it worse for the distrust of black people, or is it worse for the distrust? So do they feel that black people are more violent than white people? As in, like, because you said violence. So the reason why there's the prevalence of distrust is because they believe that many black people might be violent, right? And part of gangs. Fair enough. So I've said, what about Europeans? Do they feel that they are also maybe violent at all? And if so, which one is more violent? The Europeans or the Africans from your community? As in black people today, white people today. What do you say?
I think that if you ask like the older generation, right, the younger generation kind of knows like what the score is on the street. As in, we kind of know what's what. We don't worry about stereotypes. We kind of know.
Yeah, stereotypes.
But the older generation, okay, who don't really know.
We're talking about them. We're talking about them. I'm actually more interested in them.
Yeah.
So who?
It's very long to get someone to answer something, but we're getting there.
So in the violence back and forth,
who would they prefer to be around? Europeans or Africans, blacks or whites? In the case of violence, who they feel is more violent?
I would imagine that they might feel that blacks are a bit more violent.
I'm glad you said that, because I was trying to get that way. And the reason why I'm saying psychology is because historically, was it Africans that mistreated Indians, as in dominated and kept their country, or was it Europeans? Which one did it?
I was just about to say that.
But they're not living in Europe, though, they're living in the UK.
No, hold on. In India, Indians are aware of people coming to their land, right? Now, did Africans go to India and subjugate Indians, or did Europeans do it?
Europeans done it, yeah.
Thank you. So today, your parents who are older than you and more connected to that reality, they're going to look at a European as the savior, even though they came to subjugate them, while blacks were also being subjugated. But when it comes to judging, they are judging the black people as the violent ones, even though the Europeans had the history of being violent and subjugated. And that's the psychology I'm dealing with. And this is what black people have to deal with.
I think that
you see how I got there?
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say, right? The bigger picture. And that's what black people face. So I can never say that all Asian people are racist. That's not the case.
I get that you face that,
But you are telling me there is prevalence of racism in your community.
No,
so that means
I didn't say the prevalence.
Well, okay.
No, you asked me if there was, and I gave you one
you
example
told me. I wasn't
that there
talking
might
about
be, okay?
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm being honest, right? But I don't think that the Asian community is racist, okay, against blacks. I see in this park, there's a lot of people that think that the Asians are racist against blacks, and I try not to be racist, and my family, I don't think that
So, he tries not to be racist.
Wow.
If you change language to rape, you go, I try not to rape.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Yeah.
I try. Keeping in mind, the Asians were approaching me because I guess talk about Black Betterment, and after the instance of coming out of Asians making fun of black people's parents and this kind of stuff, they wanted to see my opinion. But when you talk, most of the time I talk to many Asian brothers out there, whatever, or sisters, whatever it might be. When we talk, they will consistently say there is no racism in their community. But as time goes by, they will constantly list all the racist acts and the dedication to racist acts, which hopefully people can pick up here.
Just so the camera knows, why we're here is because there's a brother called Ralph who's got his own views, and he was confessing that many Asians might mistreat black people privately and have disagreements behind closed doors, and it might be generated by fear, I don't know, right? So I was confronted about not all Asians are racist. At no point will I ever say anyone's all racist, but we then tried to unpack it, and that's why we're here today with the analogy that was just given.
No, but as a whole, are they? Not like, see how you just spoke individually, you may not be, but as a whole, are the community?
I don't.
I see your point that this was a reasonable thing to.
You know, it's very hard when you ask those questions for them to give you like a straight yes or straight no. It's interesting because if you were to ask me, when I'm around black people, generally, do black people talk disparaging about any group? I will say no. Like, black people do not tend to, from my observation, talk very wickedly about any group. If anything, the most kumbaya group I've ever come across and probably ever will come across, right? So, but when you talk to other groups, there's a slight delay and a start remixing of words, and this is the boy language pick up, like, you know, and I think one of the best exercises you can do it when you're home, guys, is when you ask people about this word racism, replace the word racism with rape. You see, because some people, it's become very comfortable to go, yeah, you know, racism. I try not to, you know, mistreat people based on color. I try not to, you know, whatever. But if you replace it with rape, you realize how sharp and how we should be completely against negativity, against harming, against mistreating. But not everyone feels the same way. But it's carrying this from
from Ralph, but many of the other things that Ralph says are kind of like sort of.
Another context. There's a gentleman who goes there. They mentioned about Ralph, and what is, as far as I'm aware, he's a Asian. He's a white identified Asian man. Who. So yeah.
Don't do this on New Year's Eve, man.
So there was an Asian man.
Rewind, brother. T.O. that one. Yeah. He's what?
So he was born from Asian parents, or at least one Asian parent, or two, as they understand. But he identifies as a white man. And as he identifies as a white man, because he's actually in the Asian community, he just says a lot of things that that he doesn't seem to want to uphold the code of Asian community because he views himself as being a white man. So he just tells everyone Asian business. And one of them is the business which we're getting here, is the consistency of how many Asians might mistreat black people. And this is why I started another conversation, because this gentleman here has come to say, no, you shouldn't trust Ralph. But let's see what they say.
Pretty sort of particular to him. He's quite an eccentric guy.
Yeah,
so that was my kind of major point.
Here's what it is. Just because a guy who's unfavourable in one area doesn't mean he's unfavourable in all areas.
Yeah,
and the area that I was going from is he seems so not connected to so many things that he will just shout truths and not care about it. So the etiquette or just common politeness would say that if you're going to mistreat people who are not here, we can do that here, but when they come, let's stop doing that. Me as a person, I think I prefer to know about the mistreatment. I prefer when I'm here, you carry it on. So people like him are more valuable in that sense.
Okay. Yeah,
Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
My point to you, right, is this, right?
You didn't answer the question if that made sense, but
I see it from like the people in Speaker's Corner. A lot of black people have a kind of, this is my opinion, a kind of victim mentality that people.
Very used word. Black people have victim mentality. Interesting word to get used.
Racist against them.
What does that mean?
I can understand against the establishment and things like that. You might think that because.
But let me give you a quick example. What he just said. Just give a quick example. Listen what he just said now. I've been to India before, actually. I actually went to Goa. What's this? When I was there, I was discriminated against, right? Yeah. Do you know why they left me alone? Because I showed them my British passport. That was enough for them to let me go. Meaning, if I had a Nigerian passport or a Jamaican one, that may not have been the case. But as he just said, historically speaking, you were massacred, not necessarily you, but people of your diaspora were massacred by the Englishmen. Yet they seem to be on a high pedestal. We're not on a pedestal.
They're not on a high pedestal.
They're not on a high pedestal. So fair skin is not on a high pedestal in India.
That might be a certain level of deception to a degree. Just to note that there is a dynamics of English people, European people, but let's say English for now, who are very comfortable to go around any country and have preferential treatment and be looked after very well, while many black African people I mean, this is something that I notice quite a lot. They have to do forum research to see how dangerous it might be for black people to go in a place where there isn't that many black people. So, just to keep that. This is Karen, listen.
Fair skin is not being white. Fair skin is just like, fair skin is just something that they find attractive in people.
But why
so
though?
They put it.
That wasn't that. But this, historically speaking, you see colorism in India.
Colorism is not racism.
No, I know. But what I'm saying to you, I know it's a preference. But the reason that preference came about was after the British were there. It wasn't there before. Historically, they've done scholar research on this before. I can show you it now, bro. Wait, let me get out. Say your point anyway. You're going to talk about the victim mentality.
You want to say something?
Colorism is not racism. That's
Okay.
When you're ready, Brother Raven, to continue, man.
I tell you why.
The victim mentality is very important. So
I don't agree with that. I'll be honest.
What is victim mentality? Just so we because you're teaching us something now. What is the victim mentality that black people have?
So I tell you why I think you got a victim mentality, right? The Asian people, like in this country, like, there might be some Asians, okay, in Birmingham where there's conflict between Asians and blacks, right, in certain situations, right? But in London, I don't think that there's this thing where the Asians are particularly racist against blacks, but I've seen this like conflict here come up here a little bit, a bit of it in the past.
Can you tell me the tangible story of the conflict so we can unpack it? So what story did you see that made you say, so there was something that happened, yeah, what happened? Was a black person walking on the street and an Asian person said something? What is it that's making this happen? You must have seen the story, right?
You mean in London or?
Right here in Speaker's Corner, that's what you're talking about. You're talking about Speaker's Corner.
Yeah, well in Speaker's Corner, I just got the impression that some people were kind of saying that the Asians are racist against blacks. I don't know, maybe that's not true.
So remember, we can't say, we can't make
I got the impression that some black people were thinking that, but I'm just saying that as an Asian person, I don't have any issue with black people.
Was Asian practicing
racism? The problem with that is what you're saying. I know you're not racist, but that doesn't mean that when someone says Asians are racist, we're not saying every single one. But let's be honest.
There was that phone call.
If I married
Nothing. When we talk to people publicly, we always use, I say we, but I'm just talking as a collective now. We always say, I know you're not racist. And that's just usually a method to allow the conversation to flow. We actually don't know. We don't know the person not racist. A lot of the people that's been said to, as time goes by, the video recordings come out of what they truly feel. So it's interesting way of speaking, but just to note that, to just tell someone you know they're not something when you don't, especially because that might lead people to trust them. And you know, you always want to be. When it comes to this racism thing, we always want to treat it like a neighborhood. Like we wouldn't leave our doors unlocked because you know, you never know. You always want to be cautious.
Obviously, yeah.
So you're talking about, So you're talking about the phone call. So
no, I'm saying
if that phone call was true, was that racism?
Yeah, that is. But I'm saying.
But let's unpack that. So I don't know if it happened or didn't happen.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, let's say it did happen, right?
Yeah.
Right. What we're saying is, this is how someone is talking about someone when they're not around.
Yeah.
Oh, I get your point.
I'm saying that is racist. But I'm saying that's not.
So if someone is talking so negative,
that's not for all the community. I'm saying that's what I'm trying to say.
What I'm saying to you is that.
But we have been told by yourself and others that it is quite prevalent. This concept of talking a certain way when people are not around because of fear, right? Fear that, you know, if we also talk this way, there might be a backlash, right? So you feel this way, and behind closed doors, you have this you discriminate against people of African descent, right?
No, we don't discriminate against.
No, not collectively. I'm saying that it's prevalent in certain situations.
I'm saying that we do have in-group preference, yeah.
No, I'm not talking about who you want to make love to. I'm talking about literally, like, that conversation that is a what-if scenario, but in that what-if scenario, we heard them describe black people as son of this and a donkey and a nigger or whatever it might be, right?
In that conversation.
So what I'm saying is, I don't believe when you're out in public, he's going to say, hey, there's a son of a, there's a nigger. Of
course he would, yeah.
So that means that's something that's kept behind doors. So what happens, two Asian people are talking back and forth, and it's comfortable for them to go, yeah, why you having those this, that, forth? Why you having those black this, black that? But they're not saying that when you're there, innit? Right? So that is racism, innit? Like, see, when me and his brother talk behind closed doors, we do not mention, the Indian man this, he likes to do this, he likes to do that, shame on those Indians. We don't do that, yeah? We don't have derogatory terms.
But I'll be honest, we don't do that, that's what I'm trying to say. We don't.
We don't have derogatory terms to describe our ethnic groups. There are many ethnic groups that have very particular ethnic slurs to describe African descended people.
I'm saying at home or in the Asian community, honestly, we don't talk about black people like in any bad way. We don't think like.
Really?
You said that your parents are of the
that's what I'm saying.
generation.
You asked me like, do you have something like, there's racism? And I gave you an honest answer. Like my parents, they may have been like the only racism thing is that they may have felt like a black person may have been a bit afraid on the street, or like if some black person.
But what's ironic about that
there was road rage or something, they might have thought the black guy. They didn't know it. Like didn't talk to them. My parents didn't speak English. They didn't go out there. Do you know what I mean?
But their experience of
but that's
massacre,
wrong, isn't it?
but their experience of massacre doesn't come from us. That's what we're trying to say.
What I'm saying,
so why it's racist is the fact is.
Anyone in the forum, feel free to jump in and put the link. We're gonna try to end before New Year's Day because some of you guys might want to do your family stuff. I'm assuming I wouldn't know. But if you want to jump in after the last few minutes, let us know. While this is the time.
There's been a history of Indians with the Englishmen and whatnot, and they've been massacred. We as Africans or black we don't have to. The fact that your parents think that it may be a black, but that's kind of a racist sentiment because historically speaking, we haven't oppressed you lots.
I'm not saying they think that now, but what I'm saying is, imagine they came here from India to the UK, right? And they never seen a black person before, right? And they might have heard a story in the news.
You know, I don't know like what era you grew up in, but I remember in my era that there was I would say like the late 80s there was a thing called Paki bashing. Definitely when my parents came over here, it was the same thing, and the Asian community would literally run to the African community for protection. This is in the UK. I don't know if you know about this or.
No, I'm well aware. I'm well aware. And it happened in East London as well.
Yeah.
I grew up around Forest Gate, so that is like the biggest Indian economic place, I think, in London, to be honest. I think it might be. Right.
Yeah, they, and even in the Indian army, the Africans used to hold them against Winston Churchill when he sabotaged their economics. So it's very strange. The gentleman is saying that when Indian people came over here, they were afraid of black people, but they were running to black people for protection.
And in India, the defense class was the city. There was like a massive defense class of city generals. I think, is it Malik? I want to say it was Malik was one of them, the highest general. And this was like the city community who were form bodyguards to protect the Indian.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah.
I want to say Malik, the Indian. Let me see if I can find that.
The indigenous. I know exactly what you're talking about. The indigenous Indians. They're originally from. Well, they settled there first. But they're spawn off the Jarawa tribe, and they're called the Siddhis. You know about them, ain't ya?
Yeah, well, I'm talking about. I think Malik Amber was the biggest one, so I'm going to put Malik Amber in there. And in the cities, what they say was when the Portuguese or Arabs were trying to enslave African descendants. When they got to India, they would fight and escape and then form communities in the mountains, similar to that happened in the West Indies, the Maroons, whatever. But
I heard about this.
Yeah, a very interesting documentary about cities. But from the city military, the highest leader was a brother named Malik Amber, and and the reason why they used to prefer, not that's because they were good at fighting this kind of stuff, but because they knew that they could actually go up in the ranks, but they will never ever become king because the Indians will never accept African for king. So they knew they had 100% loyalty because they knew they'll never kill him because yeah, it was this kind of guy. But definitely something for you guys to research, and if you wanted to make a Nollywood Hollywood film, that would be maybe one to that might be one to invest in. You know, if you want to do a crossover kind of collaboration. But I put the link in there for the family and Malik Amber. But family, in 10 minutes, it's the new year here in Europe, in the world, I should say. So we're gonna end the show because I know you guys might want to jump on and do what you're doing. And next week we'll try to unpack a bit more. We have to say thank you to Brother Kel because he made it a show. It's nice back and forth. Good, good things for us to research. So, Brother Kel, any last words before we get out for the new year?
Just happy Kwanzaa to everybody, and Brother Raven, keep it with this podcast, man. I'm sure there's more topics you can unpack and more education, man. It's a brilliant podcast from during this year, anyway. And God willing, we can continue.
Definitely. And I thank all the I thank all the brothers and sisters who jump on, the admin who help out, and the sisters and brothers who jump in. Definitely important. Like I said, it's a community-based stuff. But yeah, until I guess next week, 10 p.m. Hopefully next week we'll continue a great debate, and we'll get that conversation flowing, and we'll try to just try to unpack things that can help Black people, I guess. Until then, Black Betterment, have a good one, and see you next week, family. Thank you very much. All right.